Hello, in this video, I will go over my solution to the problem named fixed points taken from today's Codeforces round. This problem is problem E. Firstly, don't get intimidated by the less number of solves for this problem. Although this problem was a very easy two-dimensional dynamic programming problem, very few people solved it, and this is very misleading. Even I was misled by the less number of solves, and I attempted the last 45 minutes on problem D1 and D2 instead of problem E. But this problem is actually much easier than D1 or D2. And in this video, I'll simplify the solution to this problem. So in this problem, we are given n integers, a1 through an, and an integer k. What we need to do is, we need to remove some number of elements. We need to minimize the number of elements we remove so that the new array which is formed by removing these elements has at least k indices which are equal to their value. So after we remove some number of elements, the resulting array should have at least k indices I such that ai is equal to I, or the element at index I is the same as the number I. So let's take the help of the sample test cases given over here. So in the first sample test case, we are given n is 7 and k is 6. And this is the array A which we are given. And let's just number the indices in this array. So what we need to do is we need to minimize the number of elements we remove so that the number of positions where ai is I becomes at least 6. So in this case, you can see that if we just remove the number at position 1, then the remaining elements will basically be 6 positions at which ai is equal to I. So that's why we just remove a1 and we have the new array A, which satisfies the property that at least 6 indices have ai equal to I. And in the second sample test case, we have n is 5 and k is 2. So again, if we number the indices from 1 to 5, then we see that we need to ensure that at least 2 indices have ai equal to I. And let's just remove the indices at position 1 and position 3. So if we remove these two, then you realize that this is the resulting array 1, 2 and 3, and 3 indices actually have ai equal to I, and this is fine because 3 is greater than or equal to 2. They asked us to have at least k elements equal to the index, so that's why 3 is greater than or equal to 2, and this is fine. And note that the answer will just be equal to the number of elements which we removed. So the answer is 1 for the first test case and the answer is 2 for the second test case. And similarly, you can check that in sample test case 3, there is no way to remove the elements. So they mentioned in the problem that if there is no way to remove the elements, then we print -1. So actually in sample test case 3, the output will be -1. In sample test case 4, we'll remove elements at position 5 and 6, and the resultant array will have 3 positions, which are position 1, position 2, position 3, and position 5. 4 positions satisfying ai equal to I, and hence the number of removals was 2, and our answer will be 2. And you can verify that the output which I have written on the whiteboard is the same as the sample output given over here. So now let's try to make some observation. So the first observation that we should make is that on the constraint, so n can be up to 2000 and we have 1 second. That means an n square solution will easily pass, and an n square solution is actually the expected solution. So that's our first observation. And based on this observation, we can say that a DP or 2D DP with parameters n and n will work, and we don't have any obvious greedy strategy. So because of the fact that we don't have any obvious greedy strategy, and because n is 2000, we'll try a 2D DP strategy. So for a 2D DP strategy, we need to basically identify those two parameters in our DP state, and we will identify those two parameters based on some observations which we make. So the third observation which we make is that, let's say that we are at some index I and we have removed j numbers before index I. So that means, let's say our indices were 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up till I. And let's say we removed some j of them. So let's say we removed 1, 3, 4 and some other indices. Let's say we removed j of them. Then what will be the resultant position of I? That's the key question which we should ask ourselves. So when we remove j indices or j numbers before I, then you can easily see that the new index, the new position of index I will just be I minus j. So we can easily calculate the position of index I in the new array, which is just I minus j. And you can take some small examples of j and small examples of I to see why this is true. This is true because if j is 0, then obviously I will remain at position I. If j is 1, then I will just move 1 position to the left. If j is 2, then I will move 2 positions to the left. And in general, for any given j, the resultant position of I will just be I minus j. So this is actually very useful to us. Why? That we will see in our DP state. So our DP state will basically contain the exact same two parameters I and j, which I have made in observation 3. So I represents the position where we are standing at. So we are standing at position I, and j represents the number of numbers which we removed before index I. So we are standing at position I. We are considering numbers from 1 to I, the indices from 1 to I, and we remove j numbers before index I. So that means, let's define dpij to contain these two parameters. But what they are asking us in the problem is the minimum number of moves to remove. However, let's change this problem a bit. Let's fix the number of moves. So j is actually the number of moves or the number of indices which we remove. And since we have fixed the number of moves, since we have fixed the indices, the number of indices to remove, what we are actually computing is k. So what we are computing is the maximum number of indices x such that ax is equal to x if we remove j numbers and if we are considering numbers from 1 to I. And the motivation was observation 3, because in observation 3 we could easily find where I goes to if we remove j numbers. So, but however, if we fixed number of elements which are equal to their indices, we couldn't have easily figured out how many indices are left. But if we fix the number of moves, so this is the key idea, if we fix the number of moves, we can easily find out the number of indices I such that ai is equal to I, and that will actually come from our DP state. So our DP state is actually finding out this exact term, the number of indices x or I such that ax is equal to x is what our DP state is actually giving us. That's the information which we are actually calculating. And based on this DP state, we can make the following deduction. If dpn of j is greater than or equal to k, then we know that by removing j elements, by removing those j numbers, we have got at least k indices, k valid indices or k indices which satisfy the property that ax is equal to x. And this is powerful because that minimum value of j will be our answer. So reiterating what I just said, the final answer will just be the smallest value of j such that dpnj is greater than or equal to j, I mean greater than or equal to k. And this is true because let's just look at the definition of dpnj again. dp and j represents the maximum number of indices x such that ax is equal to x if we consider indices from 1 to n, and if we remove j numbers, we make j moves. So we know that by making j moves, we got the number of indices greater than or equal to k, and hence we are done because the problem is asking us to find how many moves, and the number of moves is just j. J is the number of moves. That's what I've been repeating so far, and hence we can just print the smallest value of j. So that's why our DP state is really powerful. We have transformed the problem by fixing the number of removals and by then computing how many indices satisfy this property. So whichever is the smallest number of removals, which gives us the number of indices greater than or equal to k, we just print that value of j. And that basically concludes why our DP state is powerful. Now let's look at the base case and the transition, because from there only we will be able to use the DP state. So let's look at the base case first. In the base case, we know that if we consider I comma 0, then dp I comma 0, 0 means no removals or no moves. Basically we can't do any move, and that's why dp I0 will just be dp I minus 1 0 plus 1 or 0, and that 1 or 0 depends on what the value of ai is. So if ai is equal to I, then we do plus 1, and if ai is not equal to I, then we do plus 0, because that's essentially the definition of what we want. We want the number of indices satisfying the value at that index is equal to the index number. So that is our base case. It's really simple. The transition is also very simple if we do some small casework. So there are two cases to consider in our transition. The first case is that we remove the ith index. So that means that we essentially have removed the ith index. So what we are considering is the remaining I minus 1 indices, and we remove j minus 1. Again, reminding you that j is the number of elements we remove. So that's why we have to basically, since we have already removed I, we have one less index to remove, and hence we use the value of j minus 1. And since we have I minus 1 elements, I minus 1 numbers left, we consider the value of dp I minus 1 j minus 1, and dp I minus 1 dp ij will just be equal to dp I minus 1 j minus 1. So this should actually be dp I minus 1 j minus 1. And note that since we have removed the index I, it won't actually contribute to our answer. So in this case it will be plus 0, because we don't use ai. Basically ai is removed from our original array. That's why we just do a plus 0. And the second case is when we remove the ith index, when we don't remove the ith index. So when we don't remove the ith index, what do we have left? We have two things left. We have the I minus 1 numbers left, and we have the ith index. So those are our two terms which we should basically add together in our computation. So the first term will obviously be dp I minus 1 j, because we have I minus 1 indices left, I minus 1 numbers left, and we still have to remove j elements because we have not removed the ith element. So that is our term dp I minus 1 j. And again we do a plus 1 or a plus 0. The plus 1 will be in the case when the resultant index of I is I minus j. So this is a small hint for you. Think about what happens, what is the resultant index of I in the new array, and that's actually observation number 3. So in observation number 3, we saw that the resultant index of I will be I minus 1, I minus j, and hence we use that resultant index to basically figure out a plus 1 or a plus 0. So plus 1 will happen when ei is the same as the resultant index, and plus 0 will happen when ei is not equal to the resultant index. So that's exactly what our dp state is. dpij is dpi minus 1j plus 1 when the resultant index is the same as the element at the resultant index, and 0 if it's not equal. And that's what our dp transition is. So just concluding the casework from the two cases, we saw that dpij is the maximum of two values. The first value is dpi minus 1 j minus 1 plus 0, because in the first case we removed the ith index, and the second case is just dpi minus 1 j plus 1 or plus 0. Plus 1 will happen in the case if ai is equal to I minus j. So that's our entire logic. That's our DP state, why we found the DP state, then our base case, and then our transition. So now let's quickly look at the code. The main part of the code is hardly 10 lines. So do see the code. So in the code, first I basically read in the values of n and k and the array A itself. So I also have a DP table n by n plus 1 by n plus 1, because that's how we compute that's the memory required for our DP table. Then I basically compute the DP table and I find the value of j. So remember, j is the smallest values, the smallest index, such that dp and j becomes greater than or equal to k. So the moment dp and j becomes greater than or equal to k, we basically print j. And note that if there is no such j, then our output is minus 1, and hence I basically used a boolean variable to take care of that case by printing minus 1 when there's no such value of j. And that basically is our final place. Now let's look at the main loop where our dp computation takes place. So as I mentioned, the base case was dp I0 is dp I minus 1 0 plus 1 or plus 0. Plus 1 happens in the case when ai is equal to I, and plus 0 happens in the case when ai is not equal to I. So that is taken care of in one bracket. Then we compute the dp values. So compute all dpij, and note that we can only delete up to, so j will be less than or equal to I, because we can delete at most I numbers, right? Obviously, if we have I numbers, then we can't delete more than I numbers. We can only delete those I numbers which we have. We can't delete more numbers than what we already have. So that's why we compute the dp values only from 1 to I. And the key observation which I mentioned, which was observation number 3, was that if we do j deletions, then position I becomes position I minus j, and that basically will help us take care of those two cases. So the first case is when we actually this should be in the other order. So the first case was the case when we basically don't delete the, I mean we delete I. So in that case we know that our value is just dp I minus 1 j minus 1. So we delete I. And the second case is when we don't delete I. So if we don't delete I, then we know that the index I becomes I minus 1, I minus j, and hence we just check if ai is equal to I minus j, and if it is, we add plus 1, or otherwise we'll add plus 0. And again we just add dp I minus 1 j, because we have I minus 1 numbers left and j deletions left to do. So that's basically the entire iteration for computing the DP table. And then we basically print the output as I mentioned. So let's just submit this code to see that it gets accepted. So as you could see, my code got accepted. I hope you like my solution to this problem. As you could see, this problem was a very simple two-dimensional dynamic programming problem with just too few solves, which made it look hard, but actually I hope this solution made it very simple for you. So thank you for watching this video.